Hi, I'm Zambies, your friendly hobby necromancer, and I'm here to announce that it's June, which means it's officially Kaijune. And I'm gonna make my own monster out of this. A few of my friends came up with a community challenge called Kaijune Kitbash, where you have until the end of June to make your own kaiju. I went ahead and rolled to find out my attributes and abilities for my monster based on their zine. I got Destroyer, Prehistoric, Neon, Bite, Armor, Robotic, and Jungle to work off of. The moment I got Prehistoric, I knew exactly what I was gonna do. This is my son's old Jurassic World toy. It's missing an arm, and it's kind of dirty and beat up, but it still makes noise and lights up, which I think is pretty cool. I got super lucky with getting Robotic on my roll as well, so these parts make sense and we can do something cool with that. But yeah, I wanted to do something with this for a while instead of just throwing it away, and I think it's gonna be a really fun project. It would be kind of cheating just to leave him the way he is, so we're definitely going to do some kit bashing and add some effects to him. Before starting, I decided to watch some classic kaiju movies for inspiration. Alright, now that the creative juices are flowing, here's my plan. I like to go to the dollar store and pick up these LED lights. I've used them on plenty of projects, but I knew I had these, which are fall leaves, but I think they look pretty similar to the back of like Godzilla when he lights up, shoots his laser beam. So I think I'm going to find a way to line the back of him with these and add an extra glowing element. I just have to figure out how to hide the battery box. Future me problem. So I have two ideas for what to do with his missing arm here. I'm thinking maybe just patch it up, like put a little bit of armor on there. Or since it's jungle themed and I love mushrooms, maybe add some mushrooms, like a fungal overgrowth, some vegetation. But either way, I have to get working on this thing. It's like the size of a dog. Who's a good puppy? Bruh. I needed to fill the screw holes and gaps before anything else. The quickest way I could think of doing this was to stuff them with aluminum foil and cover them in place with hot glue. Since I have a large supply of cheap air dry modeling clay, I used this to sculpt a skin texture over top. You can use water to smooth it out and thin it out enough to fill in the cracks. It is brittle and can crack, but any slight cracks just blend into the skin texture. And I plan on sealing it with a top coat later for protection. This ended up taking a lot longer than I expected. So I decided to focus on just the most noticeable areas. For his missing arm, I hot glued some FDM printed mushrooms into the foil to build up the fungus growth. Sounds kind of disgusting now that I said it out loud. I put a few on top of his head as well to suggest that the fungus was in control. Like the real-life zombie ant fungus, or the cordyceps in Last of Us. I'm gonna pause on working on the mushroom part right now because I wanna get these lights in, and then maybe I can use some more mushrooms to cover the battery box. My idea was to drill holes in here and kind of stuff the lights in, but I'm a little apprehensive to do that because there are electronic parts in here and I don't know where they are. But my friend Gage was like, hey, it's low voltage and the electronic parts are probably not right here. You should be fine. So if I electrocute myself or burn my house down, it's your fault, Gage.
2 hours later.
So the good news is drilling into this was fine, except for the fact that this plastic is a lot tougher than I thought, and I had to use a lot of force, which unfortunately made some of the air dry clay break off. I'm going to have to fix a few areas and coat that. I should have coated it before doing this, but you know, accidents happen. Mistakes are how you learn. Coating your air dry clay in Mod Podge makes it much more durable and protects it from flaking off. Ideally, I would have liked to cut down the center of the back and the tail to push the lights into, but I didn't have the tools for that. So in order to hide the wires, I used some wooden leaves and hot glue. I was hoping the leaves would help mimic that Godzilla-like spikes. My original plan was to use the clay to hide the wires, but I remembered I picked up this texture paint on clearance from the craft store, and I thought that would be an easier and quicker option. I tried to build it up into the leaf spikes to make it look like they were growing out of it. I also coated the mushroom areas in it before letting it dry overnight. I thought the texture paint did a good job, but it did flatten a little bit as expected, but that was easy to build up another layer. I've been going back and forth on what to do with this thing, and I've decided that the easiest and best route to go is to make a little armored box for this to kind of match his armor right here. And to do that, I'm just going to make it out of plastic card. I've got a little hobby tip for you. If you find that this stuff maybe is out of your price range or not as accessible, you might have some of this lying around. What I like to do is cut off the covers or backs of planners, notebooks, things like that. It's essentially plastic card. It varies in thickness, might have a slight texture, but works the same. You can hobby just as well with this stuff, and that way it doesn't end up in a landfill, and it's hobby necromancy. If you don't cut all the way through a thicker plastic card, you can score it just like paper and fold it up without having to glue on each side. After I made the box, I decided to cut off one end so it could be more easily accessible. I held on to these prime towers from my FDM printer because I thought they looked like vent covers and planned on using them for terrain. This ended up being the perfect size to cover the back with. I needed some moss to fill in the gaps around the mushrooms, so I made my own mossy paste. I used dried reindeer moss, a little bit of that texture paint, craft paint, and glue. I mixed a bit of each until I was happy with the consistency. I am done building this. I touched my sense of humor. So now I just have to prime it and paint it. I was gonna rattle can prime it because it's rather large, but unfortunately it is storming today. It is raining. The past few days it's been almost 90 and hot and sunny, but today I did not get good weather. So I'm gonna let this dry the whole day and hopefully I can prime it and paint it tomorrow. Thankfully the weather was good the next day and I was able to rattle can prime outside. I used a Rust-Oleum paint and primer so it would give it a good thick coat and hopefully stick well to the plastic toy parts without having to sand them down. After letting it sit outside for most of the day to dry, I dry brushed the skin with a dark gray, buffing out the texture with a large soft makeup brush. I wanted the mushrooms to be the source of his neon power. Using my airbrush, I laid down some white before using green, then a magenta, and a fluorescent orange over top. I love any excuse to use Turbo Dark, and I knew it would be perfect for a shiny monster flesh. I had covered the lights and eyes with Silly Putty to protect them from priming and airbrushing beforehand. It works great for masking, and I just needed to touch up a few areas around the eyes. For the robotic and armor parts, I wanted the metal to look beat up and weathered. My go-to way to do this is dry brushing and buffing the metallics over a black. This is a jungle monster, and with all that moisture comes rust. I dabbed on rust colors with a frayed brush and overbrushed it into the textured parts. A little recess shading, and the metal bits are done. To finish up painting, I dry brushed the mouth area with a dark desaturated purple. So I finished my kaiju by the end of June and submitted it for the challenge, which is great. But unfortunately I left the door open and it got out. I better go find it. Gotcha. In a competition where size matters and pettiness fuels a friendly challenge, one artist dared to say, "Go big or get eaten." Namgar, the Destroyer, was a prehistoric beast awoken by scientists. They experimented on him with the goal to use him to fight the other kaiju. But after being wounded in battle and left for dead in the jungle, he was overtaken by an unnatural fungus and a thirst for destruction. Just for fun, let's add a miniature for scale. How many space marines do you think it would take to take down Namgar? This marine's like a little Scooby snack. Bite attack. Boop. I love doing that. What do you think of my new pet here? I tried to walk him, but he chased a plane and now I'm in trouble with FAA? Thanks for watching. Go make fun things.